Been a while since it felt like this. Been a while since it felt.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my podcast. This is episode 4, and I have Justin Stiner, General Manager with Premium-Surfaces on today. Justin, welcome to the show. How are you?
Very good, Jesse. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. So welcome to the show, and figure we'll just jump right into it. And maybe you could tell us a little bit of a story of how you found yourself in the stone counter business. Why don't you share?
For sure, Jesse. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for this unique opportunity to give some insight into the stone countertop industry. It's a different way for us to look at it and get some viewership and educate some people on what the stone countertop industry is. So I started in the stone industry when I was 23 years old. I left a pretty crowded food industry, and I was looking to start something fresh and new. And it led into a position with a company called Mondial Granite and Marble based out of Calgary. And I was hired on as a laborer and a driver in an industry that I had no clue about. So the first time I walked into the warehouse during an interview, I see a really big, large slab of granite. And I myself, not knowing anything about the countertop industry, was shocked to learn this is where our countertops come from. Natural stone, quarried out of mountains all over the world, different colors and designs and veins, and how it was delivered to an industry, which is the fabrication side of the industry, the gentlemen who make it, fabricate it, and install it in your home. So I was quite shocked to learn how this industry worked. I was with Mondial Granite for 13 years. With Mondial Granite, I started, like I said, as a laborer and a driver. And I worked my way up in the 13 years to a lead hand position, head warehouse manager, and then was offered a position in management and moved from Calgary, where I was born and raised, to Edmonton for a 5-year period. After the 5-year period, I was introduced to Cambria, which is a brand of quartz, which is manufactured stone. And I was asked if I would leave my position at Mondial and take on an ownership/management role with a company called Premium-Surfaces.
And here you are today. All right. I'm stoked. I know we were talking a little bit before we hit record in terms of how this will kind of, the average person will learn a lot. I'm even excited to learn. I know we've talked over the years, but I'm excited to see where the conversation takes us. So you said you ended up, and now you're at Premium-Surfaces. What's the story with Premium-Surfaces in Cambria? Could you tell us a little bit about Premium-Surfaces as a company? And
For sure. Premium-Surfaces was launched in 2019 to ensure Western Canadians had access to the highest quality surfaces available. Owner Jay Anderson has been living and working in Central Alberta his entire life, has connections to the community, and being centrally located with the prairies, Red Deer, Alberta was a perfect fit for Premium. So that's where we operate and distribute for Western Canada. So Cambria is a company based out of the US with a manufacturing company that makes the Cambria quartz slabs. They awarded Jay and myself the distribution contract for Western Canada. So we own the rights from Kenora, Ontario, all the way to Kelowna, BC. So if you purchase Cambria throughout the Western Prairies, you are purchasing it from us now in Delburne, Alberta, because we've recently relocated 23 minutes east of Gasoline Alley at Red Deer and own our own building here and operate out of this area for distribution.
right on. See, Jay stayed Central Alberta, and then you ended up moving up there, and you got, I guess, Western Canada for Cambria. You're the distributors for Cambria then. Not that you sell just Cambria, but that's kind of...
Cambria is our mainstay. We have, over the years, evolved in the stone countertop industry because there's multiple types of countertops, granites, marbles. We also carry a product called Vitrazo that's manufactured outside of Georgia in Pate, Georgia, which is a recycled glass concrete eco-friendly mix. I'm also in the porcelain game. Most people, when you hear porcelain, you think about a porcelain tile for backsplash. Well, this is called FPL, full format tile. So it's a large sheet of 12 mil thickness porcelain that you generally see applications, fireplaces, outdoor kitchen and barbecue cladding, flooring, full shower walls, multitude of applications. So we've evolved over the years in the industry to carry other products, but our mainstay and our main focus is distributing and representing the Cambria brand for Western Canada.
Okay, cool. So
I can't connect to the Wi-Fi network. You might want to check the connection settings in the Google Home app.
Are we good? Technical difficulties?
Google's listening to us like they always are.
You were working with the Wi-Fi and everything before getting going here. So there you go. That's our modern world. You were talking about, so this is porcelain, the porcelain slabs that will go kind of outdoor kitchens, bath, shower surrounds and everything. What are the other, like, what are the current trends? Is that kind of the forefront, or what are the trends with the stone nowadays? Because I know for a long time it was the white quartz, and I think we're still seeing that, but like, what are you seeing? You're on the forefront of this. What are you seeing as the current trends right now?
There are forever colors that will always be in trend. So with Cambria, there's two top selling designs in Western Canada. One is called Britannica. It looks like a marble series. It's a white background with a swooping large gray vein through it that gives you some dramatic movement. And then there's a design called Summerhill. It's a gray and white with a shimmering vein. So we say bling bling, like if you're going to a diamond store, a little bit of shine. So those two are mainstays in my everyday sales. The whites and grays tend to trend because they're lighter tones. But the beautiful thing about Cambria is there's a multitude of colors and various patterns that Cambria offers for any consumer's delight. So you don't have to particularly look at those designs. In the last couple of years, the innovations that Cambria has come up with, including texturization, so surfaces that aren't polished with a matte finish, or textured finish, which we call satin ridge, those are kind of up and coming trends that we're seeing become a lot more popular.
Okay. So if you're having, like, it's not a polished finish, would that, I'm just thinking of that right now. Like, what about staining? What about, like, you're having a dinner party, someone spills a glass of wine or something on this matte finish or other type of a finish? How would the stone handle that?
Well, with Cambria is non-porous. So Cambria has a zero porosity rate. So Cambria doesn't absorb stains. That's one of the big things about Cambria. We joke around and call it bulletproof. In-house, Cambria does 56 abrasion tests of the surface, so scratch resistance testing, and they do a 48-hour dunk tank water dry weight test. So they'll put a dry piece of quartz and try to absorb, and then they measure the absorption rate by weight. So they'll weigh the sample dry and weigh the sample wet. Cambria is proud about the non-porous surface. So you can go to CambriaUSA.com and you can read any of the sustainability and cleanability of Cambria. Cambria also will provide you with a cleaning list of products that will allow you to clean any surface residue. And that's a big word Cambria uses, is surface residue. All surfaces will have a retention, will hold, sticky or colored tones on the surface, but it's how it cleans. And this is a big thing, a big sticking point on the quality of Cambria, what you pay for. So when you're paying for a higher quality brand of quartz and you know where it's manufactured and what goes into it, comparably to, and we'll just say nicely, an offshore or an overseas quartz product, you don't know particularly how it's made and what goes into it and what the qualities are. So that's something when you're looking at a higher quality quartz like Cambria, that's what you get, is non-stability or non-stainability and resistance to that, right? So for instance, Cambria will show a video of raw red meat and they will pour red wine on top for marination, and they will walk away for 2 hours. And they'll come back with hot, soapy, warm water and wipe that right up. So where you ask the question, if I'm having a party and my friend drops their wine glass and it's a really dark Merlot, is my white countertop going to be stained? The answer with Cambria is no.
So that sounds like, I don't want to be working on a pun here, but a premium, Cambria seems to be the premium product. So if you were to work on the scale of like what you folks carry over there? Like premium, it sounds like, or Cambria would be the kind of top of the line. And then how does it go all the way through the spectrum? Like maybe some people might want the Ferrari of countertops, and then other people might be a little bit more budget conscious. So like, what would that look like through various budgets?
It's about being educated and you doing some self-education on manufacturing, where it's made, what goes into the stone itself. So Cambria is 93% natural quartzite mineral. That mineral is actually mined in Canada. Cambria owns 2 mines in Quebec, and those mines produce some of the purest, whitest, and natural quartzite mineral that you can have. So when I first went to Cambria, they gave it to me as layman, as dumb as possible. They set a glass vase in front of me, and they put 4 large glass marbles inside the vase. And they said, Justin, is the vase full? And of course, I go back to grade 7 science class, and we talk about volume. And I understand the basics of volume. And I said, no, there's air within that vase, and it's not full. So the gentleman, his name is Tim, was training me at Cambria at the time. He started taking smaller grains all the way down to powdered sized quartzite mineral and filling the vase's volume all the way up to the top. And he said, in layman terms, that's Cambria. And when I first put the 4 glass large marbles in the vase, that's other quartz. Now, there is other quartz product in the market that has a high quality, manufactured in countries like Spain, countries like the US, but you have to understand the manufacturing properties. So because we're manufactured in the US, we're held to a higher standard of manufacturing and what we can put in the stone. So this includes our resins, our polymers, our pigments, and what we can use to design our material with. When we look at a foreign body country like China or India or overseas countries that produce quartz, they are subsidized by the foreign bodies to take recycled or refused material and crush it down and use it as a filler within this product. So when we talk about budget stone, why is it a budget stone? How much does it cost to manufacture in country of origin before it lands in Canada and me as a consumer purchases it? So it's something that most quartz suppliers don't talk about. They're just, if you're a budget consumer, they have a budget product. And why is it a budget product? It's your job as a consumer to ask that. And generally we don't, because we're so stuck and focused on that word budget, what we're getting quality wise for what we pay.
Yeah, I had no idea of the various, like I've never really put that much thought into granite countertops or quartz countertops. Yeah. So, so do you carry, like, what would be if we're saying Cambria is the top of the line, like what would be your mid-range products? What would be the lower range? Like say somebody's doing a renovation for a property before they sell it. Maybe Cambria might be like, you're in your forever home or you're in your property where you want to spend some time and you want to enjoy these counters. What if someone's just, I don't know, they're renovating their rental property or a property that they're going to be selling quite quickly? And not that they want to put something cheap in there, but maybe not the top of the line stuff.
Let's talk about the different types of materials that we can see in the industry. Obviously, we've touched on quartz. It's a manufactured man-made stone. The word quartz comes from quartzite mineral, which I talked about, the quarries in Quebec where Cambria quarries this quartzite mineral. But quartzite is a naturally occurring mineral in the earth, which is very hard. And we talk about a scale of hardness. We use a scale called the Mohs scale of hardness. It's a 1 to 10 value on hardness. So each mineral in the earth is valued within that range of 1 to 10. A diamond being a 10. That's what they use to cut stone, is diamond blades.
What do you call that? Mohs scale?
Mohs, M-O-S, Mohs scale of hardness.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we look at like concrete, they use limestone, they use lime, right? And when we look at different types of countertop materials, usually we start on the softness of a marble is usually between a 3.5 and a 5 on the Mohs scale of hardness. The next step after that is a product called dolomite. And then after that is where granite falls in. Granite usually goes from a 5 to about a 7.8. And then there's a naturally occurring quartzite slab. So very high-end exotic granite or natural stone they call quartzite. So example are Taj Mahal, Madre, Perla, different high-end materials, right? So wow. The biggest thing when you're looking at budget-friendly material is knowing what you want versus the type of material. So marbles are soft. They etch very easily with high acidity. They can react to certain things like hard water in your homes. Now, granite, because granite has such a variation of hardness and thickness and strength, depending on the type of granite and mineral composition of the stone, will actually depend on the porosity, the strength, and the durability overall, right? So granite for years was considered to be kind of the rich man's finish in the home. And that's why growing up in the 80s and 90s, we all grew up with laminate countertops, right? Because it was the higher end homes that had the granite. Or if you went to the hotels like Fantasyland Hotel in Edmonton, you've seen granite countertops. You didn't really understand what it was for, and you just thought it was a high-end finish. Now, natural stone has the variation of price points from entry level, which is a standard entry level stone, mid-grade, a premium, and then an exotic range, right? So with natural stone, you do have a selection within that budget conscious purchase for a purchaser. So you could use a natural stone product if you're quickly flipping a property. Also, quartz, what we were just talking about, Cambria obviously is, like you said, mentioned, it could be the Ferrari or considered the Ferrari. Pardon me. Quartz material, usually every stone supplier in any major city will carry their own brand of quartz. And then there's other brands of quartz that are direct competition with Cambria. Sal stone comes from Spain. Constantino is the product. Cedar stone, which is originated in Israel, which is now manufactured in the US. Handstone, which has some production lines in Southern Ontario, and their claim to fame is Canadian manufactured stone. And then you have your overseas or container quartz, which would come from third world countries, third world places like India, Indonesia, China, right? So it really depends on the type. Most of the time, budget stone is a container quartz or an overseas product, and it's much cheaper. And it is, it shows you the durability and still allows you to be budget conscious, right?
Okay. So you'll have some of that stuff maybe available.
Not myself. The quartz product I carry is only Cambria. I do carry granite. My granite, my focus here at Premium Surfaces is to support the North American stability. So all my natural stone is Canadian natural stone. Actually, it is quarried in Quebec and comes right out of the Canadian Shield in Eastern Canada, which is beautiful. I do carry two types of marble as well. One is from Oklahoma and the other one is from Utah.
So buying local then is you're practicing what we often hear anyways, which is you want to support local, buy local, and it's mined pretty well local, or in at least in North America anyway.
Yes. And the only product that I'm carrying that isn't yet manufactured in North America, and that's because the cost of manufacturing is the porcelain. But when we look at a porcelain producer, we look at what we call a sustainable producer or an ethical producer. So when we look at an overseas partner to produce, we really take a look at their business practices, how they treat their employees, how they are within the community, where they develop their production warehouse. So when we look at production, we're talking about no child labor, working conditions are good for the community, community improvement plans by the producer. So do they invest back in the community? Do they build roads, schools? Do they invest in hospitals? So that's something that's really important to me and Jay, because we do typically stick to the North American product because we like to keep supporting locally owned small businesses, because me and Jay are a small Canadian business. So it's really important for us to continue to show that support to other Canadian small businesses.
Well, it sounds like the ethics are there too. I didn't even really put a lot of thought into that. I mean, when you see it, it's there, it's on the counter, it's in your kitchen. You don't really, or I personally don't think of like, how did it get there? What did they do? Are they supporting the community that it came from? So that's important information to know. And the fact that you guys are kind of sourcing that product with your moral compass in the equation there versus like, we're just going to try to get the cheapest price per square foot and be an inferior product, right? And like if it's way more porous, it's coming from some part of the world where you're not really going to be feeling good about how that was even produced or brought to you. I mean, that's a lot.
And we make no apologies about it. It's something that we want to provide a premium service along with a premium product. And, you know, sometimes we pay a little bit more for something that's better. I often find myself using an analogy when it comes to pricing in stone is anybody can go to IKEA and build a kitchen for $5,000, but you know you're getting kitchen cabinets that are pressboard cabinets that have been manufactured overseas. When you can go to a millwork or a cabinet shop and get real wood cabinets that are probably going to be $15,000 or $20,000, but are going to last the lifetime of your home, right? So, I mean, we've heard it all growing up. You pay for what you get, ultimately.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in the absence of value, I guess I'm in sales, obviously, and in some of those courses over the years, they say in the absence of value, price becomes the only determining factor. So when you can actually understand what differentiates the products, then it makes more sense to say, okay, I can see where the differences are here. And I mean, that Cambria sounds pretty sweet. I did see some of your stuff at your old location in Red Deer, but I'd like to come check out your new gigs at some point here and see how you guys are set up in the new facility there.
Yeah, it would be awesome to have you. It'd be great to do a tour.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Maybe bring the cameras and record a little tour there of what you have going on. Okay. What would the general process look like with like I'm out of Calgary.
Oh, yes, we just switched off the speaker here.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right.
I think my driver must have pulled in and it connected to the Uconnect of the truck.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
More technical difficulties in Delbert.
Yeah, it seems like that's what's happening from Delbert to Calgary. So like, let's say there's somebody in Calgary, homeowner, and they say they want to get some granite countertops, or they want to get quartz, or they want to get Cambria quartz, and they want to reach out to you. How would that process look like, start to finish, to it's installed and they're happy and they pay for it?
Well, generally you're hiring the fabrication side of the business. It's the contractor who's going to cut and fabricate and install the stone. So most people don't start with me directly unless they know they want to come view full slabs of Cambria, and then they can reach out to me via email, which we can provide, or my phone number directly, and book an appointment with me. But usually in the major cities, you are going to shop a little bit. If you're smart, you're going to go to 3 or 4 stone producers. So if, for example, in your market, Granite Guys, Jade Stone, Western Marble, West Point Stone Mario, you'll start at a fabrication facility. And generally what they do is you have a discussion on what your budget is. They'll show you a selection of stone. And if you're interested in Cambria, obviously they'll give you direct contact information to look at stone. And then from there, the stone fabricator will come to your home and they do a template or measurement of the countertop areas that you want supplied. And then from template and measurement, they'll provide you with a quote. And from there, that's when I say, usually with Cambria, because we are a little bit more of a higher end product, you want to get 2 or 3 quotes, just like with anything, to make sure that, you know, you have a level playing field and everybody's being honest and fair with you. And from that point, when you're going to select stone, most of these stone fabricator or retail locations have my sample racks, which hold a 10 by 12 inch tile-based sample of my material. Or CambriaUSA.com is another great way to look at all of the stone that is available for Cambria. And then If you're not at Cambria, they'll send you within the city to wholesalers. So Mondial Granite, who I used to be employed by, Hari Stone or GS Granite are two other major suppliers in the Calgary market that supply natural stone. And generally, those stone suppliers have their own brand of in-house quartz as well. So Mondial has a product called CQS. It's Caruso Quartz Surface, and the Caruso family is who owns Mondial, based out of Sicily, Italy. With Hari Stone, they carry a brand called IRA, which is Hari backwards, and GS carries GS Quartz. So generally that's what the stone producer will do is send you. And sometimes some people skip that process and just go directly to the wholesalers first and find out what they like, and then they start the quoting process from there.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you directly, like I'll put all your contact info in down below and in the show notes and everything. Would you prefer that they contact you first, or they just kind of go in Calgary and try to find somebody, or what would be?
If they would like to contact me first, please do feel free. And if they have any questions, I've been in the business for 19 years and I'm a very honest guy. I'm pretty direct about answering any questions, even sometimes when other suppliers won't answer certain questions. I have no problem navigating and helping people navigate the stone industry, because it is an interesting industry to understand. If you are coming from the outside for the first time and doing stone countertops, it can be overwhelming and confusing. And I like to kind of be a bit of a liaison when it comes to that process and help people through that. It's something that I pride myself on. Another reason I believe Cambria selected me to help represent their brand in Western Canada.
Yeah, you've always been the kind of guy that like you'll tell me, or you'll tell whoever, I don't know, I guess I can only go from my experience, but kind of tell me the way it is, and you're not really attached to the outcome or trying to make it force something to happen if it's not supposed to happen. You're just like, here's what it is, and here are the options, and here's the products, and this is why this is awesome, and this is why this is priced the way it is, or whatnot. So I do appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
So we've covered a lot. I had some questions kind of pre-done, but we've kind of gone all around and touched on a lot of them here. So that general process, like let's say someone's interested, they're in Calgary, they can reach out to you. I'll make sure your contact details are down below, so they'll have your info, and then you can link them up, and then they'll get someone to come over, do the template, get them the quotes, whether they can get a few just to make sure it's a level playing field. And then they just go ahead and give the quote a green light, and then off to the races with the install, I guess.
Yeah. And if somebody, prior to going to the stone fabricator does a rough measurement of their countertops and takes that, generally that stone counter contractor can give you a rough quote until they do the physical template. So they generally have a rough idea of what your budget would be.
Okay. Yeah. If you have that square footage there, you'll
have
an idea. Now, I'm cheating a little bit because I know you've told me about this. I'm just going to bring it back up. In terms of eco-friendly, you told me something, and this was several months ago, so I don't remember all of the details, but with Cambria, something about energy efficiency, or just they don't use a whole lot of water in their production facility. What's Cambria doing there with their eco-friendly side of it?
So Cambria in the plant is in Le Sueur, Minnesota. It's about an hour south of St. Paul, Minneapolis. They have a 1.6 million square foot production facility. Okay. And when you first roll up the facility, it's impressive. It's large. The grass is cut perfectly. They have a rumor around that Marty Davis, the owner of Cambria, expects the grass to be a certain length, and employees aren't even allowed to walk on the grass. They have this massive, almost heart-shaped catch basin that catches rainwater. And this catch basin rainwater actually takes the water from the catch basin into the plant, and internally they reuse and recycle 95% of the water within the plant. Cambria also uses some of their older designs or some of the leftover designs, and they have 4 designs that are actually partially or fully recycled materials. So example, Britannica block is 100% recycled. And what they do is that the word Britannica block and the design looks like a butcher block style. So where the glue wood is together, they take strips of Britannica out of their production facility, because Cambria doesn't just produce the slabs. within key markets in the US, Cambria is the stone producer as well. So they do the countertop portions. They own their own production facilities. So they take all the strips from the Britannica that they produced over the years and they re-glue them back together using these polymers and resins, and they make out 100% recycled stone called Britannica block. There's another design called Buxton that is 45% recycled material, and so on. So it's something that Cambria prides itself on. We are LEED certified and food safe certified. So LEED certified, we can be in hospitals, we can be in hotel and food safe areas as well. So because Cambria is non-porous and non-absorbent, you can absorb bacteria into the surface. So they're not worried about that.
Okay. So energy efficient and health safe for hospitals and food prep restaurants and everything.
Yes.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, because I don't know. I must have had experiences with lower quality stone in the past, because if you spilled red wine on a stone countertop, like it could be stained forever. I don't know how you would get that out. From previous experience.
There's a few tricks. There's a baking soda paste that you can make, and then you have to tent it. And I have a few guys in the market over the long term that I've been around that I know are very successful at that. Some guys have just businesses where they just service stone, where there's chips or scratches or surface imperfections, and then stainability, right? But that is the one beautiful thing about Cambria is we use an example, and Cambria would probably kick me in the butt for saying it, but permanent marker Sharpie. And you think, I just got this brand new, beautiful white island installed, and my grandkids are at the island at the seating bar and they're coloring, and the permanent marker goes through the coloring book, and oh my God, my brand new island is stained. With Cambria, because we're non-porous, that stain isn't sticking internally into the stone, it's surface residue. And Cambria has a flow chart and a cleaning chart to be able to remove Sharpie, permanent marker. I use a product called Goof Off. It's a little yellow tin, 2 applications, and you will remove Sharpie permanent marker from Cambria. So that's one when I have some customers that I show them, it usually blows their mind. They can't believe it.
Very cool. Very cool. So in terms of just a couple personal questions here, your favorite stone, what's your favorite stone at the moment and why?
So that's a good question, Jesse, because 13 years of being in the natural stone side of the industry and not really seeing a lot of quartz, I was huge in the granite. I loved granite, and granite came with all different types of finishes. They have a sandblasted finish, a fire finish, the honed finish, which is basically polished with the shine removed, and then a leather finish. And the leather finish is kind of a texturing done to the surface where it almost feels like a snakeskin boot or a textured leather, right? Or a hammered kind of brushed stone is what they would call it. That's something that Cambria over the years has always led in the industry, is in innovation. And this year they released a couple new designs. The series is called Windsor, and they have Windsor Brass Satin Ridge and Windsor Steel Satin Ridge. And the brass and the steel are metals, precious metals that are put in the surface, and they're raised above the surface. And then where the quartz would normally have a polish, it has this slight texture. So as you run your hand over, you're feeling depths and ridges, and you're feeling texture. And a common question I get, obviously, when I show that material is some of the veins have a depletion, are a little bit lower than the surface. So everybody's like, well, will food get stuck in that? And again, I refer right back to what we just finished talking about, is Cambria is non-porous. So that means residue will not stay on the surface. So hot, soapy water cleans that surface just as easy as a polished finish. So right now, the Windsor Steel, I love. It reminds me of the granite that I had in my home in Spruce Grove before I left Mondial and moved down here to central Alberta. And I just, to feel texture and depth reminds me of a natural stone, reminds me of being in the Rocky Mountains and touching the dirt and feeling that kind of element. And it's something that Cambria has led in innovation, because other companies have a matte finish, but nobody's gone into that depths of texturing stones. And right now that would probably be on the top of my list.
All right. Right on. Thanks for sharing that. That's neat to know where where things are going, where the innovation is going in the industry. So what about any exciting projects? Like, do you have any projects that you've done recently that you're allowed to talk about that you think are particularly interesting?
Well, I think the general public will find it interesting because the new BMO Center down at Stampede Park that's being created and being finished off this year. So hopefully, I think they should be ready for Stampede this year. You will see Cambria's Britannica, which is the design we talked about earlier in the interview with the gray marbling and the big swooping vein and the beautiful pattern. We have 60 slabs that have been put into that design elements for the BMO Center, and there is a few other Cambria designs. So that's one that I'm really proud because it's hard for Cambria to get into the commercial application because of price point. Cambria is expensive. So architects and designs, they really need to spec the stone and make sure that that spec follows through to fruition and get to the finished end. Because sometimes what we hear is called spec swapping at commercial level, where something needs to change on price. And one of the easiest things to change is to find a durable surface for a cheaper price point. So sometimes where Cambria is spec commercially, it gets spec swapped out for cheaper products. And that's sometimes when you see the budgets get run away on some of these larger scale projects. Something I would be interested in is the new Calgary Flames Arena that will be built in the next couple of years in Calgary. I would love to approach the design team and the architects there. And with Cambria, the unique thing is you can custom design your own slab. There is a purchase limit. You have to purchase 300 slabs of Cambria to get your own design. Now,
so whoever's in charge of general contractoring that stadium construction, there you go. Take note.
Yeah, we seen it a few years ago with USA Bank Stadium in Minnesota for the Minnesota Vikings. Cambria designed a design called Annika, and it has the vein flow pattern of a marble. And within the vein, they have purple and gold jewels, which align with the Minnesota Vikings colors. And they call it Annika. So it's something that was used in USA Bank Stadium and became very popular with the Minnesota people, the fan base of the Minnesota Vikings. And it's now a regular available product in the Cambria lineup. So that's something I joke about. I'd love to see the Calgary Flames buy it. And let's say, for instance, they were only going to use 250 slabs. I had an idea. Well, the other 50 slabs Premium-Surfaces would purchase. We would sell it to the fan base for the man cave. And then I would take 35% of the proceeds of that sale and I'd donate it back to the Calgary Flames charity. So that's something hopefully in the future I get to present. But it's tough because, there's a lot of people looking to get their material in a large scale project like that. So.
Well, you got the BMO Center already, so that'll be a good opportunity for people to keep an eye out for when they get in there and see if you can find that Cambria product in there. And who knows? Yeah, maybe you will get into the new stadium as well. I'd be excited.
I'm such a stoner that I see Cambria anywhere I go. I was watching a Pittsburgh Penguins game, and when they leave the ice to go to their dressing room, there's a trophy case there that all the players walk by, and the design inside the trophy case is Cambria Galloway. I called my business partner right away. I said, man, the Pittsburgh Penguins have Cambria, like, come on, right? So it's something that I take a lot of pride in when I see my product. I speak very highly of the product because, it's something that I represent, and I don't represent it based on a sales base. Like, I need to sell. It's something that I truly believe in, and I like to pass that passionate on to not only the retail customer that's buying it, but friends and family, as you can tell.
Yeah, it shows. Your excitement shows, and maybe we'll get some more people excited about it and getting some premium surfaces in their homes. Okay, pardon the pun. I don't want to go too long here. Was there anything else that you had in mind or that you would want to kind of cover? Maybe we should touch on the kind of ballpark cost. Ballpark, should we do that? Like the high end, the lower end, just the range of like a cost per square foot, or are there too many factors? Should they just kind of reach out to get?
There is a lot of factors, and it's the question all wholesalers get all the time is how much. But we have to remember that we protect the partnership with our stone producers, right? So the stone producer has to buy your stone. They have to manufacture the stone. They have to handle it. There's a lot of things within the handling of the stone and receiving the stone at the shop, plus things that can happen, breakage, overages to where we mismeasure, right? So generally the cost, you can get an entry level stone, let's say like cost of material for granite, you can start at $6 a square foot. And you can go all the way into the hundreds of dollars a square foot for natural stone. Quartz, you can see it at that, $18 to $25 a square foot and all the way up to $65 a square foot. Now that's material cost. And then you have to factor in the fabrication or the production rate that the shop you're dealing with. And that's why I suggested earlier, when you're going out and looking at stone, you should always have 3 quotes. Even if your best friend's best friend owns this shop, you should always seek out another quote just to see where people are at. Because there's a lot of other things that determine the factor of cost, availability of production timeline. Some people need it in 2 weeks. Some people don't need it for 6 weeks. Some shops are 8 weeks pre-booked on fabrication. So it really depends on who you're dealing with. And then the markup, right? Because sometimes you have a middleman, that's the sales guy. So now you see a double markup on product. So it really is on the consumer's best interest to really educate themselves on the cost and who they're dealing with when it comes to production, right? And in Calgary, you have 25 to 30 stone producers, and you have some that are really, really good high-end stone producers. So you pay a little bit more because the quality of craftsmanship, just like I mentioned, with that IKEA comparison to a mill worker, you get a little bit better way of fabricating. And then we have some guys that we joke around and call garage cutters, guys that think they can take a diamond saw and run it through slabs in their garage and install it and undercut all of these main producers. And then now you're getting, I got my countertops for really cheap, but what's the issue? Like, is it polished right? Is it cut right? Is it seamed together right? Is your sink installed right? So there's a lot of factors that play into the cost of production for sure.
That's a good point. I think we should wrap this up here, but that's a really good point. Are you able to share maybe some red flags that people would watch out for if they're looking to get counters and they don't want to get some kind of fly-by-night garage cutter setup? And like, what would be some green flags to, I guess the green
physical location of their shop. Okay. If they have a showroom, if they have sales staff, if they're dedicated and responsive to you when you call them, if it takes you, 8 to 10 days to receive a quote, or versus a 2-day turnaround on a quote, that somebody's interested in your business, to where the 10-day guy, you're just another PO in the lineup of POs. So a lot of the time I base myself on the relationship or the personal way I was treated. If I walk in and I feel like I'm just another PO, right, another job on their board, I tend to sometimes not go with that company. Where if I get personally received and treated well, and they're interested in the project that I'm doing, I generally will lean towards somebody that has a general interest in what I want, right? You'll generally find too is like, you'll go to some shops and they push a brand. They push you. Well, why are they pushing that brand? Are they being backdoor incentivized by that company? Are they getting an extra cut for selling that particular brand to you? So that would be a big red flag to me, is where they're pushing, I want Cambria. No, but you should go with this. Well, why? Oh, well, and they can't really explain why. Well, budget. And it's always budget. And that's the one thing, kind of my tip I have in the industry. If I start a conversation with budget, that's the wrong way to talk about my countertops. What do I want? What are my expectations of what I'm purchasing? And what is the overall design concept I'm going for? Listen, I'm not arrogant or ignorant enough not to think that I'm not going to win every time when it comes to Cambria. And yes, Cambria is very, very high end, but it doesn't mean that it's not affordable, right? And if we look at the long-term forecast of what we're doing with our countertops, I can buy a cheap quartz that's going to last 5 to 7 years in my home and might have UV effective discoloration from where the sun hits in one spot, or I could buy Cambria that has a 25-year lifetime warranty and is going to last the lifetime of my home. So up front, the cost at the beginning seems like a little bit more, but on the long-term overall stability of what I'm doing, it's worth the value.
Yeah, especially if you get one of those forever colors or those colors that kind of will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And having a better quality product, it's not just about, the lowest cost per square foot and you're replacing it in 7 years or 10 years or something like that.
Exactly.
That's a lot to think about. I'd be honest, I didn't really put a lot of thought into counters other than looking at them and thinking like you said, when we grew up, I never had granite in my house. You didn't either, right? We're just looking at arborite or whatever it was. And then you see granite in a house. Whoa, these people really made it here. So I never really put a lot of thought into it, but I appreciate you sharing some of your expertise and insight with me and with everybody that sees this. And like I say, I'll put all your contact info down below. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to Justin. I'm sure he'd be happy to respond and happy to help you out in any way you can. And if there's anything that you want to ask me, by all means, you can get a hold of me as well through the links below. So anything else in closing before we go, Justin?
No, I just wanted to say I really appreciate this opportunity to share this way. It's a new format for me to be able to get out. And, just remember that, Premium Services is a small Canadian business. We really strive for the service side of things. When we talked about services excellence, it's something that we pride ourselves on. So, yeah, like Justin said, if you need any questions that didn't get answered in this podcast today, feel free to reach out at any time. My phone is on all the time.
Cool. And maybe we'll get to that facility tour at some point in the future here as well.
Really look forward to it. Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Okay, buddy. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.